Issey Miyake is an anomaly in the world of design and of men. The Japanese fashion designer not only shifted social perceptions on clothing, he pioneered the technology that made this shift possible, and did so without foregoing the heritage of the craft. A survivor, inventor, philosopher, and anthropologist who seeks to question the nature of a universal public as it navigates the modern world, who more importantly would have us questioning it too.
He's an artist, he's a real artist. He uses fashion as his media, as his vehicle to communicate his feelings. But I don't consider him a fashion designer at all.
Issey Miyake, originally named Miyake Kazumaru, was born on April 22, 1938 in Hiroshima, Japan. He rarely discusses his childhood, and for good reason. His mother and family were killed when the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima when he was only a child. Ever since this tragedy, Miyake has only ever looked forward, preferring to think of things that can be created, not destroyed, and that bring beauty and joy. Today he is renowned for pioneering Japanese design and combining Eastern and Western elements in his craft.
He has no boundary. He really finds the material and the shape which is really necessary for a human being. He is combining and integrating Oriental concept, the Western concept, and creating new hybrid product.
Miyake assembled his first collection named The Poem of Material and Stone, while studying graphic design at the Tama Art University in Tokyo, and graduated in 1964. In 1965, Miyake moved to Paris to study haute couture at the Chambre syndicale de la couture parisienne. His career began in 1966, working as an assistant designer at French design house Guy Laroche, and for a period with Hubert de Givenchy. During his tenancy in Paris, he also witnessed the 1968 Paris riots.
France, May 1968. A nation of strikes, of violence. A country paralyzed across its length and breadth. The simmering of unrest amongst its student population rapidly boiled, then boiled over. Citizens from every walk of life, from every class, became involved. Unrest, which had lurked beneath the surface, spilled into the open. France had been brought to its knees by a disenchanted majority who wanted more money, better working conditions, and a shake-up in the social system.
Which sparked his interest in creating clothing for a universal public.
I think he has a concept about togetherness and connection, and he shows that through the clothes.
We are all one, we are all united, and I think he really put that into his work, as well as he used the earth to actually design some of his clothes, which is very beautiful. It's a really, really nice show. I'm excited about
it. In 1969, Miyake left Paris for New York and worked as a designer for the meticulous American fashion designer Jeffrey Bean. Whilst in New York, Miyake also refined his ideas about clothing and the function of fashion.
Rose means in Japanese fuku. Then fuku means happiness. And probably I'm trying to make fuku a happiness for people and for myself too.
In 1970, Miyake established the Issey Miyake Design Studio in Tokyo. Miyake empowered his team to be more like collaborators, becoming part of the creative process. One artist amongst his studio, Makiko Mingawa, created a Japanese tattoo of rock icons Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. The dress became an icon in and of itself and is now archived at the Kyoto Costume Institute. 3 years later, he would debut in Paris, and from therein, Miyake showcased collections there twice a year and rapidly became a designer whose shows fashionistas couldn't afford to miss. Since the very beginning, Miyake's artistic process has centered on his trademark concept, one-piece cloth, exploring the connection between the body, the cloth used to cover it, and the space and room that is created between the two. It was a pioneering act in tradecraft, which involved cutting garments from a single tube of fabric.
一番の果たして東洋的かどうかはちょっとわからないんですね。というのはもう昔からギリシャでもあるいはアフリカでもあらゆる民族が一枚のないしは革というところから始まってて、そして今でもインドでは一枚の上にさっと巻くだけとかね。だけどもただ一枚のというものをやっぱりはっきり言えたのはやはり完成度の高い着物という着物が持つそのある意味では非常に合理的な部分もあるし、からきれい文字と人間の体、そしてその動きというですね、それがいわゆる長いこと培われてきたということからやっぱり一枚のというようにつながったのかなと思いますが、ただ一枚のっていうコンセプトはですね、やはり、いずれにしてもデザインというのは長いテーマを長くできるだけデベロップしていきたいのでやるわけですけれども、やはり我々の仕事には秋というのが来たりつまずきが来たりいろいろするときにもう一遍一枚のに戻るわけなんです。それでちょっと違う方向がないかなという意味ですね。そういうテーマを持ったのは幸せだなというふうに思います。
The idea was developed in conjunction with Dai Fujiwara, a textile engineer under the banner of the Miyake Studio. Miyake also visited ancient production regions to unearth traditional techniques such as dyeing and weaving that were on the brink of extinction. By the late 80s, the designer started experimenting with new methods of pleating that would offer a person flexibility of movement as well as ease of care and production. This resulted in garment pleating, a pioneering new technique that involved cutting and sewing the garment first, and then sandwiched between layers of paper and fed into a heat press where they were pleated. The fabric's memory is what actually held the pleats together. Shortly after this revolution saw the birth of his Pleats Please Issey Miyake line in 1993. Taking inspiration from the Frankfurt Ballet, Miyake stunned the world with his heat-set polyester garments that challenged a new level of function, movement, and design.
A design dialogue between fabric and form found its natural expression in dance.
You see, design which is worn by the human body moves, which creates something in itself. But our search is to actually make fabrics and shapes that transform, creating a beautiful world of movement.
I guess Issey was told about me. Yeah, I mean, I knew who Issey was long before that. Yeah. But he came then to a performance in Frankfurt one night and just showed up backstage. And we we talked, and then eventually he would come to Frankfurt every now and then and come with all sorts of clothes from his collections in garbage bags. And we go up to the hotel room and with some of the dancers, and we would just try things on.
Miyake, who had been a keen sportsman, had always had a fascination with functionality and utility, which has bled through to his design process. In 1992, he applied his authority of movement to the official uniform he designed for the Lithuanian Olympic team in Barcelona. In the same year, Miyake launched its famous perfume, L'Eau de Issey, which quickly became a commercial hit. In 1994, L'Eau de Issey pour Homme for men dropped into stores, and since then the scents have evolved year on year. L'Eau d'Issey's Pure Nectar de Parfum will mark the latest offering from the house, which continues to produce the highly coveted fragrances with the Beauté Prestige group of Shiseido, whom incidentally has successful ties to a number of notable designer perfumes. The sensory element the fragrances add to Miyake's design field play a strong component in the longevity and success of the house.
I'm Anne Ayo, the perfumer of A Drop d'Issey, the new Issey Miyake feminine fragrance. Surprise, nature, and imagination. The word drop was very key, with the main idea of revealing what is invisible to the naked eye. Round, of course. Like the bottle, I created a round structure enveloping fragrance with a very Miyake-like texture. The lilac is a silent flower. This means that in perfumery we cannot extract the fragrance from the flower. The surprises that I recreate the smell of the lilac in great detail, as if I was putting the flower in a studio. The lilac, for this transparent florality, I used almond milk because it gives a unique pleasure signature to the fragrance, and I use the musk. We round this fragrance with this musky and addictive effect. Both. It was important to me to find the perfect balance between the creativity of synthetic raw materials and the beauty of the naturals. By reducing the harvest, we protect also the nature.
In 1998, the Cartier Foundation dedicated an exhibition to Issey Miyake in Paris, touting him as the most fascinating designer of our time. Miyake assisted the exhibit, entitling it Making Things. The simple act of sharing his process was considered a groundbreaking curatorial move. True to his form, the artist shared the light with his collaborators, highlighting his work on Pleats Please with artist Yasumasa Moriumura, Tim Hawkinson, Nobuyoshi Araki, and Kai Guo Kwang. Following the event, Philippe Tretiak from Elle magazine stated, "He has never ceased to search, interrogate, or scrutinize his materials, and he has drawn various replies and signs in order to design what might be the clothing of the future. A tailor of the wind, a poet of delicacy, an architect of a feather-light armor for the next millennium." Miyake, year after year, is becoming the master and the guru of the most fluid modernity. Since 1999, Miyake has handed over the reins of his men's and women's wear collection, respectively, to his associate Naoki Takizawa and later to Dai Fujiwara, so that he could concentrate on other projects. Yoshiyuki Miyami would come on board in 2011 to take over the women's wear line. That being said, Miyake continues to oversee the overall direction of all design studio brands under the Miyake banner. Due to the fact that Miyake had long engaged his prodigies as equals in the creation, the succession was a smooth one. For spring 1999, Miyake's Ebook line further explored his earlier work with one-piece cloth. Following its release, the famed Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama added her signature polka dots to the designs at an event held by the Cartier Foundation in 2000. In 2006, the collection became a permanent fixture at the Museum of Modern Art.
というような仕事はですね、決して物をデザインする、それを商品化するというですね、モデルチェンジの仕事ではないということがですね、これから基本になっていくんじゃないだろうかと思ってるんですね。だからそういう意味で、少し、もっと社会をのことを考え、それから生きるということを考え、そしてやっぱり楽しむとか喜びとかそういうものがないとこの仕事はなかなか難しくなるだろうと思いますし、それからもう一つは20世紀はカテゴライズするのがだいぶ好きな時代で、我々はそのカテゴライズをどんどん破ってきてるわけですが、やっぱりいろんな人たちが一緒になって仕事を同時代生きている人間がね、いろんなことを考える、話し合うということはすごい必要ではないかなと思っているんです。
Miyake's 46 years as a designer were celebrated in Tokyo's National Art Center. The Miyake Issey exhibition, the work of Issey Miyake, was presented along with a publication from Taschen, chronicling the genius and the contribution of the then 77-year-old. Rather than contemplating his legacy, Miyake used the event to discuss his latest fascination into the culture of paper, ever looking forward, ever dedicated to his research, making him ultimately ahead of his time.
Issey Miyake is absolutely timeless. There's nothing can compare to it. It's feminine and it's handmade and the aesthetic is organic, and I think that's something that is really important and relevant right now in fashion.
I think Issey Miyake get inspiration also from architecture, and they choose such a different place to host the show. It's a perfect match.
I like it because it's very unique. It's a joy of life. It's easy care, it's like flexible, it's practical.
I'm expecting two words, dug. It's new material and it's made of something that adapts to your body. I think this kind of path that the designer and the house and the new designer has settled down since decades, it's still relevant and good to wear.
For Resort 19, Yoshiyuki Miyake continues to deal in the house's signature use of high-tech fabrics, contrasted with themes of nature. Whilst the Spring-Summer 19 showcase included a new fabrication, a urethane mesh known playfully as dodo, which rooted in the tradition of the brand allows the wearer to bend and mold the garments at will. The collection came just before the November announcement of a new president to preside over the Issey Miyake brand. The internal promotion went to Takahiko Issei, a fashion veteran who has served 20 years with the label and headed up its production. Issey will be guided by former president Masakatsu Nagatani, who will stay on as an advisor. It is said that current internal shifts could mark a new direction for the house while still remaining true to its core concepts: functionality, comfort, and technique. As for Miyake, now in his 80th year, this renegade of fashion continues to surprise us. In presenting his latest Dodo collection, Miyake remarked, "The history of mankind has been made by hands." Certainly this is true for Miyake.